What is going on, my YouTube friends? Today, we're actually dismantling this seat cover. People are following along on our build of this 2000 2500 Ram. Some of you probably are watching it because you're interested in seeing a lot of the segments of what we're doing. Other people might just jump into this video and be like, what is this guy even talking about? So what we're talking about is, in this episode, is a continuation of the build of this 05 Dodge Ram 2500 build that we're doing. What we're doing is a little different. Everybody wants a fast-paced video where it shows you start to finish of a vehicle in 2 seconds. I honestly feel that kind of killed our world and our industry and the automotive community for builders and people doing things, because it really devalues all the work that goes into every step of doing what we do. One of which is the interior, and that's what we're on today. So what happens is there's a lot more involved than people think. People want to sit home and assume that they snap their fingers and everything's magically done and you get what you want. But in reality, there's people working, putting lots of hours, blood, sweat, and tears into their vehicles, putting a lot of pride into the work they do. And it's very important that people realize that and see that. And so for some of you who are here because you want to do this, that's awesome. And some of you who are here because you want to see how it's done, maybe you'll appreciate it more. Our previous episode, I had said that we have to dismantle the seat covers in order to make a pattern. What we're doing is making reupholstering the seats. We're using the actual seat cushions and backrest as the pattern. So what I had said previously in our videos is that you have to dismantle all these pieces, and it takes time to do it, and you have to label them. And what's funny is our previous video, we didn't label. I messed up. We didn't label some stuff, and you got to see how to correct that and what was, what we missed and why. So I'm going to go through. We're going to show you how to label a seat cover. We're going to pull it apart and kind of walk through all the different processes of it, and then we're going to jump into patterning it. I'm not going to do a video of patterning and sewing this one just because we just did a video of patterning and sewing the cushion, and honestly, there's no difference. If people watch the videos and you're like, hey, I want to see the full top, bottom, every single thing done, just let me know. We will do that. But I'm trying to balance off the people who watch this for entertainment and wanting just to know versus the people who are like, I want to really learn this. So before we get started, can't use a paint pen or a space pen. We need chalk. So where's my chalk? Okay, so I have just sidewalk chalk here. And what I like to do is actually sharpen it. So you have a nice sharp point. When you sharpen it, you got to be careful, because if it's too sharp, it could actually mark vinyl. So believe it or not, you get this this chalk so sharp that when you write on vinyl, it actually cuts it. You always want to test it in a spot and make sure it's good. Now, what we're doing is, obviously you can see here, we'll start off with the front of the seat. There's a lot of pieces going together on the seat. This is more of a simpler seat. Some pieces, some seat covers might have 4 times this in pieces. So what you want to do is start off by labeling everything. So what I do, every piece should get, this is driver's backrest, right? Driver's backrest. And chalk kind of sucks because it comes off. You can write on the back side of this stuff, but if you write with Sharpie, it could transfer through. And if for some reason you wanted to save this material to reuse it for a repair or just to keep it, it would ruin it. So then we could put top, bottom. You want to do left, right, because remember, left, right. When you're sitting in the car driving, everything on the left's the left side, everything on the right's the right side. Want to do top. I'm going to do middle here, bottom here, left, right. Then we have top, bottom. This is the right panel. And then what we want to do is go through, and you could be as detailed as you want. Like if this had a top stitch on it, I would actually make a note and put single top stitch, French seam, or whatever it is. You'd write right on the edge there so you know on both pieces, because when you pull the seat apart, you'll see that it gets confusing sometimes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put these little hash lines in it. So these little lines, when you see these things, this is how you align your seat panel to panel. It gets, like I said, it can get very confusing when you pull a seat apart if you don't have it labeled properly. So you always want to make sure when you're doing your hash lines, you want to make sure that they are never a repeating consistent number of hashes. So you don't want to do 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, because then when you pull your panels off, everything has 2, 2. You want to make sure that this side, if this has 3 and 1, maybe do 1, 2 over here, maybe do 1 here, maybe do 2 here. Now when you put these panels together, which I'll show you afterwards, you'll see clearly what's missing and where they go. So your chalk, with the chalk, a lot of times it wears off. So it's kind of a pain, but it is what it is. So we got that label. We got that label put here. That has two. I'm going to do one. Then I'm going to do one on each side of here. That'll be different. And we're going to go around to this side. A lot of times I'll actually do where there's a seam. We'll put a mark here. Because you can see here, this seam actually intersects with that seam. So we'll put a seam there. Same thing with here. I'm just going to add this center one here so we have it. And then that's that. We can go through the back and do the same thing. So the back is vinyl up here, but we're just going to use our chalk because we have it out. We're at the top, right, left, middle. And we'll put a couple lines here so we know which side goes to where. A lot of times when you're doing like carpet, especially even if you're going to reuse it, you still want to label it, because if you put it on wrong, say it doesn't have one of these clips on here, people sometimes get confused and put them on upside down. So we'll just put a couple lines in here. This will also help us know if it's lined up. Put our lines where this seam is. This seam right here I missed. Put a couple up here. Now, most likely the seat cover has hash marks in the inside of it, and you could just pull it apart and go by those. So they actually have, like, the factory also has alignment points. The problem with them is a lot of times I like to label things, you know, put down, like I said, French seam, top stitch, all that stuff. So now, what you heard me in previous videos, for those of you who watch, you have to know what panel to put where and for what first. And I like to look at it before we do it. This seat does not have a top stitch here. It's just a butt seam. So that's a little bit easier, but there's a sequence to it. You can't put your, you can't sew this piece to this piece, this piece to this piece, this one, this one, this one, and in a random order. It has to have some sort of method. So with this seat here, the way it works is you're going to sew this piece to this piece to this piece, and then you can sew this to this to this, and then this whole piece gets sewn to the outer perimeter of this seat. Hopefully that makes sense. A lot of times it doesn't make sense till you do it, until you mess up, and messing up is how you learn. So now we're just going to pull it apart, and I use, well, this one here has the clip here. So we're going to pull that apart. We're going to take the clip off, and we want to label that. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm also going to take a picture of it. Usually we have a shop camera, but so now I'm going to take a picture so I can see exactly how that was. Because it really matters how your clips go. And when you get to that point, you don't want to mess it up, because you get the whole seat on and then realize your clips are backwards. I'm going to peel this one off. A lot of times I leave the clips on the original material and bring it over to the sewing machine table and sew it on, take it off and sew it on at the same time. But on clips like this, when they intersect over here and here, plus we have to pattern it, it's easier just to take it off. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the back off first because it's easier. We'll pull the carpet off. All I'm going to do is spread it apart. So they make seam rippers. I don't like seam rippers. I don't have any good luck with them. I just use razor blades. So you very carefully get the thread started. And once you get it going, it's pretty easy. You're just, this hand's holding the material down, this hand's pulling the material back, and you just touch the threads. You don't want to rip the material or the carpet, because if you ever had to reuse it, you don't want it messed up. So we're just going to pull this off. And there's really, when you're pulling the seams apart, it really doesn't matter. I mean, sometimes it's smart to pull it apart the way you would think it goes back together in reverse, because then that will kind of help you when you put it back together to know. So point in case with this one here, one of the final things, this gets sewn to this, and this all gets sewn to that. So I'm going to pull this off in that fashion and show you. Okay, so you can see here, this back panel is off now, and now there's 2 pieces left. So as you do it, you could just, sometimes it looks overwhelming, but as you just do panel by panel, it simplifies it. So now I'm just going to separate the carpet from the top piece of vinyl, and we're going to use that as a pattern. So now you see there's 2 pieces, right? So now I'm going to keep these exactly the way they go and move them over here. If you keep everything together the way it was, it saves you a lot of confusion. And then we're going to move to the front. So the front, we have this side piece here. You want to look at it. I usually label edge, and then you'll do like a fold and sew, or this has an edge on it here. So I'm going to mark this, because these little pieces are the ones that always get people, because you forget to label them. And then when you go to put them on, it gets very confusing. So I labeled this guy. Gonna get the thread started here, hopefully. There it is. And you just want to kind of pay attention to, as you're going, to see how it comes apart, where it went. So this one was sewn to this first. And then, so this, normally you would do a binding or an edging all the way across it. This one wasn't. It was separate. So we're just going to go with the flow here. So we're going to pull this apart, put that where it goes. And we're going to take this apart. So it's DR, backrest, top, bottom, left side. I'm going to put a couple marks in here so we know where these two go together. Put 3 lines there, so I don't want to do 3 lines on the other side. And then we can pull this apart here, get this started. I'm going to stick this one right here. So now we know that those 2 pieces go together. We can continue this here. We did 3 lines on the other side, so I'm just going to do 1 line here and 1 line here, so it's a little bit different. Then we're going to put top. This is the left, drivers, backrest, bottom. Okay, so we can pull this apart now. So one of the funny things about doing this is easy to teach someone to do this as long as they pay attention. But the problem is taking a million seats apart, it gets very challenging if you're in a shop environment. So you might have 50 million seats taken apart, and anybody can take them apart, but the guy who puts them together is kind of the most important one. Working with people will make that person a lot better. It gets very, very confusing very easily. Okay, so now I'm going to put this one here, and we're going to pull the sides apart next. So you're going to see a whole breakdown of how this seat comes apart. I tell you what, these new razor blades just get worse every year. Okay, so this is here. There. Take apart this one now. You can see why the chalk, from moving around a lot, the chalk actually rubs off really easily. So that's why you got to kind of pay attention to what you're doing. This one here, if I was worried about being confused, I probably would have just labeled it from the back with like a China marker or something like that. But I've just done the other one, and I know how these go together. I've done probably 100 of these things over the years or more. Got that, and now we're just going to separate the middle. And if you want to, knowing to separate, if you look, well, here's a good example. This seat here has the listing wire sewn in here. So we're going to actually cut this off, keep this here. But then you look, this also has a stitch here on a cloth. Sometimes they look like a butt seam, but it's not. It's actually a top stitch. So you don't want to cut that because we're going to pattern that. So now I'm just going to pull this apart. So for some of you that are watching this video, it's kind of backwards because we should have done this in the beginning, but when we decided to start doing these videos, we had already dismantled a seat cushion, and we took you through patterning it and adding sew foam to it and sewing it and all that stuff there. So that goes there. So now we have it. That's it. So really, to take the seat apart, that's pretty much it. We have all of our panels laid out. You can see how many pieces there are and how, it takes a little bit of time to do it. And now our next step is patterning, which if you want to see that, you could skip back 2 videos on this channel, and you'll see us pattern the seat cushion, add the sew foam, and sew it. I'm going to do that to this, and then we're going to do the next video on installing it, putting the seat together.